Good morning, class 12th. So today we have to start with the fourth chapter, which is magnetic effects of current. You studied a bit about this chapter in your class 10th also. So in the class 12 we are going to study the advanced form of all the topics you studied in your 10th class. So in our 12th class, let us revise very quickly whatever we have done so far. First two chapter, electrostats, charge at rest. Third chapter, charge is no more at rest. It was allowed to move uniformly. And when the charge moves uniformly in a conductor, then it forms what we call electric current. So the third chapter was all dealing with the electric current. We studied a bit about the heating effects of current in the 10th class, and now in the 12th class we are going to keep our focus on another major effect of the current that we call as the magnetic effects of the current. A current carrying wire produces a magnetic field, and that can be sensed also. We are going to see a wonderful experiment later on. So what all we are going to study in today's class: first is sources of magnetic field, what different sources are there that can produce the magnetic field, and once the sources are identified and once we know that okay, the magnetic field is there around those sources, and if now we put a moving charge in the magnetic field, or if we put a current carrying conductor in the magnetic field, then we are going to keep our focus on the behavior of a moving charge and behavior of a current carrying conductor in the external magnetic field. This is the experiment that I was talking of. You are given a cell, a compass and a wire. Just connect a simple circuit. Current now is flowing through the wire. This current carrying wire, when placed over the magnetic compass, which is a tiny magnet, starts showing the deflection when the current carrying wire is kept over the magnetic compass. It itself indicates that okay, current carrying wire is producing a magnetic field and the compass is showing the deflection. And this experiment was accidentally observed by Ørsted. Ørsted was the scientist who accidentally discovered the magnetic effects of current in the year 18. What were the observations of the Ørsted experiment? First observation, that flow of the electric current through the conductor produces a magnetic field. We have just seen that in that experiment. And second was the compass needle is actually deflected by the current carrying wire, and when we change the direction of the current, when we reverse the direction of the current, deflection also got reversed. How and what rule we can follow to find out the direction in which the needle will turn when the current flows through the wire? The rule is known as the Snow rule. South, north over west. When the current goes from south to north and is placed over the compass, then the compass needle turns towards the west. So current here now is going from south to north. We have put a magnetic compass over that or under the current carrying wire. You can see the deflection is towards the west. When the current goes from south to north, compass turns towards west, and it turns towards east when the current direction is changed. This rule is known as Snow rule. So now the question arises, what is magnetic field? Like in the Ørsted experiment, a current carrying wire was kept and the magnetic compass used to show some deflection. And since magnetic compass itself is a tiny magnet, so obviously if the compass is showing some deflection, it is experiencing some force. And what is that which is exerting force on the compass? Obviously the nature of the force should be magnetic, and there should be some magnet around it which is exerting some magnetic force on the compass. But we could see there was no other magnet present adjoining to this. Instead there was a current carrying wire. Does this mean that the current carrying wire is behaving like a magnet which is exerting a magnetic force on the compass, and that is why the compass is showing some deflection in that experiment. Yes, a current carrying wire produces some magnetic field, and of course we cannot see it, the field is invisible. Magnetic field is associated with anything which is behaving like a magnet. So current carrying wire behaves like a magnet. It has its own magnetic field which is invisible. But how can we find out, how can we sense that, okay, how can we say that, okay, there is a magnetic field around current carrying wire? We can sense the effect of the magnetic field. And in the Oersted experiment, the invisible magnetic field of the current carrying wire exerted a force sufficient enough to produce deflection in the compass. Right? So, a magnetic field is an invisible field that exerts a magnetic force on all those substances which are sensitive to the magnetism. And what are the substances which are sensitive to the magnetism? Two we have already identified, a current carrying conductor, second one is a magnetic compass, and there is a moving charge also which is sensitive to the magnetic force, which is sensitive to the external magnetic field. Or there is some other magnetic material also. If we put any of the four in the external magnetic field, they will experience some magnetic force and their direction of motion changes, or they themselves starts to move, they themselves start to deflect from their original path. Now there is an interesting fact that I would like to share with you, that anything which experiences a magnetic force, anything which experiences a magnetic force is a source of magnetic field as well. For example, I just told you that magnetic charge experiences the magnetic force. Moving charge, if it is experiencing a magnetic force, a moving charge then should be able to generate a magnetic field as well. Magnetic compass experiences the magnetic force. That means a magnetic compass is able to generate or create a magnetic field around it. Same ways current carrying wire, I can say that, okay, current carrying wire is generating some magnetic field around it. So these are all the few different sources of the magnetic field. We are going to spend a little more time on this topic. So our topic, next topic, the sources of magnetic field. What are the sources of magnetic field? I just told you that all those substances that experiences magnetic force, they in a way are the sources of magnetic field also. Magnetic compass and the magnets we all are aware of. Moving charge, one example we have to study in detail. Current carrying conductor, yes, it is there. One more factor is there, one more point is there that we need to spend, we'll be spending some time on this topic in the next chapter, and this is time varying electric field. We have studied about the electric field in the first chapter. If the charge is at rest, it produces the electric field. But if the charge comes in motion, then what will happen? Will it produce electric field? Yes. If the charge is in motion, it produces the electric field which is varying with time, which changes with time. So this field which is produced by a moving charge is called time varying electric field. And this time varying electric field is a source of magnetic field also. And again, you have to note one important point, that all these sources, they behave like the magnet and they exert a magnetic force, or they experience a magnetic force when they are placed close to any of the mentioned sources of the magnetic field. A magnetic compass will experience a force if it's placed adjoining to a moving charge, or a current carrying conductor or a time varying field. Same is valid for the moving charge, same is valid for the current carrying conductor. If the current carrying conductor is placed near the compass or a moving charge or the time varying field, it also will exert or experience some magnetic force. Now the magnetic field, if the concept is clear, we are going to make it a little more clear that if the magnetic field is there, it is invisible. Can we find out the direction of the magnetic field? Now the question arises, it is invisible. How can we talk the direction of magnetic field? Children, it is exactly the same concept that we studied in the electrostatic field. Electrostatic field measure was given by the electrostatic force. Same ways, magnetic field measure is given by the magnetic force. And there are 4 different rules that we are going to find out, that we are going to use to find the direction of magnetic field. One is Maxwell's corkscrew rule, or simply we call this as the screw rule. Second one is right hand thumb rule. Right hand thumb rule is for 2 cases. Right hand thumb rule is valid for a straight current carrying wire, and it is also valid for a circular current carrying wire. So it is applicable to both the cases. If the current carrying wire is given to you in the straight form, or if the current carrying wire is given in the circular shape, we can use right hand thumb rule for both. And the last one is the right hand palm rule. So let us spend some time on each rule. So let us start with Maxwell's screw rule. When we move a screw clockwise, what happens? It moves forward or away from you. That is what the Maxwell rule is, that the direction in which the screw advances is the direction of current. Then the direction of rotation of screw is the direction of magnetic field line. If on giving the clockwise rotation to the screw, thumb is pointing forward, then the clockwise rotation is magnetic field line and the forward direction of the screw current. Reverse is also true. If we give anti-clockwise rotation, the screw comes backward towards you, then the backward direction of the screw is the direction of current, and anti-clockwise direction of the screw is the direction of magnetic field lines. Scientists found it a little difficult, therefore they shifted to a new rule which we call as Fleming's right hand thumb rule. Fleming's right hand thumb rule. So let us have a look at that. Fleming's right hand thumb rule is much easier to understand. You just stretch your thumb and the 4 fingers perpendicular to each other and hold the thumb in the direction of current and curve your fingers around the current carrying wire. Then the direction in which the fingers are curved gives you the direction of magnetic field line, and of course thumb is pointing in the direction of the current. So screw rule in a way was giving the result same as the right hand thumb rule, but the Fleming's right hand thumb rule is a little easier to understand. Let us go to the next rule. Yes, one more thing before we move on to the next one. This Fleming's right hand thumb rule is valid the other way around also. If you are given a circular current carrying loop, say this circle is the direction of the current, then the direction of the magnetic field will be given by the thumb. I repeat, if current carrying circular loop is there and you are curving your fingers, you have curved your fingers in the direction of the current carrying circular loop, then thumb points out in the direction of the magnetic field. That is Fleming's right hand rule once again. So Fleming's right hand rule can be used for both the cases. When the current carrying wire is straight, curved finger gives the direction of magnetic field line, and when the curved finger represents the direction of the current, then the thumb gives the direction of the magnetic field line. This is a simple explanation for the right hand thumb rule that we have just seen there in the illustration, that if the current carrying wire is there and the thumb is pointing in the direction of the current, then the curved fingers which are curved around the current carrying wire are representing the direction of the magnetic field line. This is Fleming's right hand thumb rule for a straight current carrying wire, and the reciprocal is also valid. Say these curved fingers, if this is the direction of the current in the circular loop, this is the direction of the current in the circular loop, then thumb gives the direction of the magnetic field. So curved fingers gives the direction of magnetic field line if thumb is pointed along the direction of the current, and curved fingers if they are along the direction of the current in the circular loop, then thumb represents the magnetic field line. And the last rule that I was talking of is the right hand palm rule. Right hand palm rule is more to find the direction of the magnetic force. Magnetic field is given to you here. So again a simple rule, you just use your right hand, stretch your thumb and the fingers mutually perpendicular, and if you are stretching your fingers in the direction of the magnetic field lines, see these fingers, they are representing the field lines, and thumb is held in the direction of the current, then a line which is perpendicular to the palm gives you the direction of the magnetic force, and here we are assuming that the current in the rectangular coil is clockwise. So the position where the hand is shown over there, the current is going downward in the direction of the thumb, and the right arm of the coil is experiencing a force in the outward direction away from the screen. Just have a look at the left arm of the rectangular coil. Rectangular coil left arm is having the current going in the upward direction, and now just practice yourself. Hold your fingers in the direction of the magnetic field line and thumb in the direction of the current, then the palm perpendicular to the palm is, you'll find, towards the paper, towards the screen. That means the left arm of the rectangular coil will experience a force inwards towards the screen, and the right arm of the rectangular coil will experience a force outward away from the screen. So this right hand palm rule is more effective in finding the force experienced by the current carrying wire. Another rule too is there that will come to study when we'll come to the moving coil galvanometer, but right hand palm rule I find more easy to understand. So let us now come to the force thing, magnetic force thing. When we are talking of magnetic force, I told you in the beginning of this lesson itself that okay, magnetic field is given to you, and if we throw a charge in the magnetic field, or if we just keep a current carrying wire, what happens to that? Will the current stays there, or will the charge stays there, or will the charge keeps on moving along the same direction in which it was thrown in the magnetic field? No, charge behaves differently. A moving charge behaves differently when it's placed in the magnetic field, because it experiences some magnetic force, and that magnetic force is known as a Lorentz force. So Lorentz was the scientist who actually gave an idea of the force experienced by a moving charge when it's placed in the magnetic field. And if you remember, in our first chapter, electrostats, we studied Lorentz force there also, but that was the electric component of the Lorentz force. And what was the formula, if you remember? There the formula was F is equal to QE. That was the electric component of the force, or the electric force, electrostatic force experienced by the charge in the presence of electric field. And now in this lesson we are going to study the magnetic force experienced by the charged particle when it is placed in the magnetic field. And the formula that Lorentz gave here is F is equal to Q V cross B. F is the magnetic force, Q is the charge on the particle, can be plus or minus, and here for the simplicity throughout the example we will take plus charge, you can take minus charge also. V, velocity of the charged particle in a uniform magnetic field B. If we are to find out the direction of the force, of course we can find out the magnitude using this formula easily by putting in the numerical values there and solving the issue. Like V cross B can be written as VB sin theta. So just put in the values and find the magnitude. The question arises how to find out the force. There are so many methods available to find the direction of the force. One is the cross product rule, that you have to rotate from first vector to second vector and use the right hand thumb rule. So when you perform a rotation from V to B, then thumb gives the direction of the third vector, which is force. And if not that, there is another property of cross product of unit vector that you can use, and I prefer using the property of the unit vector, cross product of unit vectors, because that gives a concrete answer. There it is leaving, I'm left with no wrong answers here. I finally get the correct answer. So what is the cross product of the unit vector? Just look at the index chart over there. I cross j, of course, is k. J cross k, I cap. K cross I, j cap. J cross I, of course, is minus k cap. K cross j, minus I cap. And all these formulas you can obtain from the circle that is shown over there. Just have a look at this. We are given a clockwise circle, a circle moving in the clockwise direction, and I to j. Then we are going from j to k and k to I. That means if I am moving or rotating from I to j, that means I am talking of I cross j. Then the third vector I am left with will be the answer. So I cross j gives me k cap. If I go from or rotate from j to k, just look at the circle. If I rotate from j to k, in the direction of rotation I am left with I cap. So j cross k, thus is I cap. And if I rotate from k cap to I cap, look at the circle once again, k cap to I cap, then in the direction of circle I am left with j cap. So k cross I cap is j cap. And if I move in a direction opposite to the given circle, then I'll get a minus sign. For example, if I'm making a rotation from, say, I to k, I want to find out I cross k cap. That means I'm performing a rotation reverse to the rotation given here in the circle. Then I'll get, of course, j cap, but with a minus sign. So I cross j k cap will be equal to minus j cap. Let us practice one more example. If I want to rotate from k cap to j cap, isn't that I'm moving opposite to the circle which is already given over there? K cap to j cap I am rotating, I am left with I cap. Since the rotation is opposite to the direction which is shown over there, so it will be minus I cap. So k cap cross j cap is equal to I cap. And you can practice it once more, and then you will be more comfortable in using the cross product of unit vector, and try to use the cross product of unit vectors every time to find the direction of the given vector. It gives a concrete result without error, provided you have this knowledge of the cross product of the vectors. So let us apply this knowledge here in this formula. F is equal to q v cross b. I have taken this example here. If I am taking velocity along I cap and magnetic field along minus k cap, so what this force becomes, the direction of the force can be written in terms of unit vector as I cap cross minus k cap. And since cross product is not commutative, so A cross B is to be written as minus B cross A. Remember that 11th class vector algebra? Therefore, I cross minus k cap can be written as k cap cross I cap, and k cross I cap, of course, look at the index chart, is j cap. That means the particle, the charged particle, will experience a force along positive y axis having the unit vector j cap. So let us have a look at the animation to understand the concept more clearly. Okay, all the cross in the screen are representing the magnetic field, and V here is the velocity of the charged particle. See, the charged particle initially is moving along x-axis. So the velocity vector is along I cap. Magnetic field along minus k cap. And just now we proved that direction of force is j cap. That is why the force has been shown along positive y-axis. Now try to understand one thing, that what was that example that you used to study where the velocity is always perpendicular to force. Yes, that is centripetal force. And the circular motion example that I am talking of, that means here this F is enacting like the centripetal force. What is that which is providing this centripetal force? Let us have a look at that in the next presentation. Question here is why the circular path. Exam, in the exam 1 marker question at times can be there, or you can always write the explanation on your own, that since the magnetic force here, which is F, is equal to QV cross B, this is acting perpendicular to the velocity of the charge. Therefore, this magnetic force is providing necessary centripetal force for the charged particle to move in a circle. This magnetic force is providing necessary centripetal force to the charged particle. And do you remember what is the direction of the centripetal force? Yes, that is radially inwards towards the center of the circle. This centripetal force, which is a magnetic force only, will be radially inwards towards the center, and we are getting this force radially inward perpendicular to the center only when velocity and magnetic field are perpendicular to each other. What if velocity is not perpendicular to the magnetic field? What if we are throwing a charged particle in the magnetic field in a specific direction, making certain angle theta? So let us have a look at that example also. So this is the example. The magnetic field lines are shown by the red line there, and velocity component is making an angle theta with the magnetic field line. Resolve this velocity vector along two components, v cos theta and v sin theta. Here what do you observe? This v cos theta component is along the magnetic field, but v sin theta velocity is one component is still there, which is perpendicular to magnetic field, which is v sin theta. That means v sin theta is perpendicular to magnetic field and should be perpendicular to the magnetic force as well. Look at the index diagram there. V has been resolved there along two components, v cos theta and v sin theta. So v cos theta component is one which is actually along the magnetic field and will provide a linear motion to the charged particle. By linear motion, this v cos theta component remains same. There is no force acting on this v cos theta component. So v cos theta remains same throughout. But what happens to v sin theta component? Motion due to the perpendicular component of the velocity will be circular. We studied it before also. Motion due to the perpendicular component of velocity is always circular. Why it is circular? There must be some centripetal force. What is that which is providing the centripetal force? Magnetic force. Now I think the things are a little clear, so just have a look at this. The motion due to perpendicular component of the velocity is v sin theta, and this motion will be circular, and the magnetic force only provide the necessary centripetal force. Important point, magnitude of v sin theta again that remains same, that does not change. So what changes? Direction only. Direction of v sin theta changes continuously, and this is called the centripetal force. Magnetic force is known as the centripetal force. So the resulting motion, when we take the resulting motion of v cos theta and v sin theta, that is the combination of linear motion and the circular motion, the effective motion comes out to be a helical path, as was seen in the previous animation.